Morning, everybody. How is everybody? I'm hoping that that we can stay nice in the comments, please. I can put you on timeout, which would help. Okay, so anybody that makes rude comments, I will put on timeout, and then you can come back when you're feeling better. Okay, Ruby, really pleased to see you. Welcome. Hello. How are you? And how is everybody else? Let's have a quick check-in. If you've just joined us and you've never done this before, we always have a check-in. We have retrieval, which is remembering what we did last lesson. And then we do a spelling quiz, 1 to 10, 5 words that we learned the day before, and 5 new words, or 5 shuffled up from all the other lessons that we've done. So let's have a quick check-in. So I'm feeling good today. I feel a bit disorganized today, but I think sometimes it's because I've been having a bit of a clear out, and it makes you feel more disorganized to start with before you get yourself organized. So there we go. So last week, how is everybody else feeling? Are you ready for spelling? Have you got your pen and paper ready for the spelling quiz? So just remember, last lesson, we did the letter F. So the capital F looks very similar to the lowercase f, but it's straight lines and it takes up the whole line. Morning, Isla. And then we have the lowercase f printed, not joined up. That takes up the whole line, which is unusual, isn't it, for lowercase? And then we have one with a join, okay? And then we join up the F and we put a join in there. So you can see that we're going to do the letter V today. But morning, Stephen. I would needed to say hello to Ronan as well, who's been here from the beginning. And hello, Ollie. Ronan's feeling all right today. That's good. How are you feeling today, Isla? You still missing your friends? It's all quite strange, isn't it? Okay, so can you remember the sign for F? Yeah, so if you're right-handed, that goes on the top, and your left hand is like your notepad, and it's 2 fingers and 2 fingers. So that's an F for the British Sign Language. And we'll look at V today as well. Okay, shall we do our spelling quiz? Okay, so let's do the spelling quiz. And number 1, we're going to do the 5 that we learnt yesterday. So remember, these are all what we call high frequency words, so they're used a lot. And then they are also difficult to spell, so they're not the same as the phonic patterns. Okay, oh, Isla's feeling good today, excellent. Okay, so number 1 was Mr, as in how you would write your teacher, Mr. Smith. Okay, or you would write it formally on a letter. Okay, so Mr. Smith is going for a walk. Mr. Number 2 was Ms. Okay, so that's the female Mr. Ms. How would we spell that? But as we talked about yesterday, there seemed to be quite a lot for women. So the other one is Mrs. So you've got Mr. Smith, Ms. Smith, or Mrs. Smith. And number 4 was Miss Smith. Miss. These are all abbreviation terms that are really useful for you to know for when you're writing formal letters. So that's why they're in the high frequency words as well, because they're used a lot. And last one is number 5, which in this case is master, as in, so that will be a boy before we start using Mr. So we've got Mr, Ms, and then Mrs, Miss, and master. Okay, so there's the 5. And then these are another 5 shuffled up. Okay, so I've got them here. I've just shuffled them out of the pile. Okay, so number 6 is how. How do you do that? Number 7, they. They are going for a walk. Okay, Stephen, I'll quickly go through. So 3, 4, 5. So 1 was Mr, 2 was Ms, 3 was Mrs, 4 was Miss, 5 was master. 6 was how. 7, they are going to the shops, they. Number 8, what do you think you're doing? What? And number 9, here. And not in here, but here we are today. And finally, I've just left number 10 over here. Oh no, there it is. Thought I'd lost it. And number 10, she. She is going to the shops. She. So there's a lot of very high frequency words there. Lots of those are easier than we've done for a while, but they're really useful words to know. How do you think you did? Okay, quick go at just reminding anybody that's here, if you've spelt something wrong, don't cross out the whole word. Okay, so that's master. That was number 5. But maybe you spelt it like this. Okay, say if you spelt master like that. Okay, rather than crossing out the whole word, tick M, tick A, ring R, tick S, tick T, and then ring that bit. So that bit would be ER, and we just don't need that bit at all. Okay, so that's how you should correct your spelling. It's a much more positive way and a much more useful way, because you're looking at all the letters that you get right, as well as some of the letters you get wrong, rather than seeing it as a whole thing that you just cross out. Okay, so let's have a go. So number 1 was Mr. So it's a term that we call abbreviation. Okay, and it's Mr. And it's always capital and So that's the title. You might hear it as a title. Sometimes in application forms it says, what's your title? And you can say Mr. Or you can say Ms, which is what I say. Okay, so you've got Mr. and Ms. But some people, some women, if they get married, like to use the term Mrs. Okay, so you've got Ms and Mrs are both for women. Those who choose to be identified as women. And number 4 is Miss. And again, young girls will often be called Miss, or it used to be if you weren't married. But a lot of people have changed it now to Ms. You see, we have all these different terms that you'll see on application forms. So you need to know. Morning, Lucy. Isla got 10 out of 10. Excellent. That's great. And finally, number 5, what we did, remember, it's still a capital. Master. Okay. And that is, so Miss would be for girls and Master would be for boys. And then when you get grown up, you usually put Mr. and Ms. Some people still use Miss if they're unmarried, but that's a choice. People can choose. But ma, so it's m, r, s, and that's that tricky bit, isn't it? There, because it sounds like an AR or something. Okay, number 6 was how. So H-O-W, how. So it's a ow. Okay. 8 out of 10 for Stephen. Which ones did you get wrong, Stephen? Wondering if we can do a bit of work on it, if you like. So they, the, a, yeah, T-H-E-Y, they. Okay, number 8 was she, so you've got sh, e. Okay, and again, that's female, and it's linked to Miss, it's linked to Mrs, and it's linked to Ms, isn't it? She. And now that looks like a banana. Okay, number 9 was here. So it's H-E-R-E. Ear. Okay, but as in here now. If you're hearing with your ear, it's this one. H, and then it's actually got the word ear in it. Okay, and that's hearing here. But that is a placement here. And number 10. Have I gone in the wrong order? Oh, sorry. What? I'll write them down tomorrow so I don't, when I put them in piles, I sometimes mix my piles up. So sorry if I've got the wrong order. So we've got Mr, Ms, Mrs, Miss, Master, how, they, she, here, and what. Okay, and they're all what we call red words, high frequency words. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to be doing this. No. Okay. They're high frequency words, so you use them a lot, but they don't necessarily follow your phonic pattern. Okay, so let's have a look at our letter now, and then we'll do 5 more of those words. They're a bit tricky, the ones I've done for the end of the lesson. There, I've got through, should, though, rough, and laugh. So there are 5 for the end of the lesson. Okay, so we are now doing V. All right, so V is capital. So if this is our line, and we always look to see if the capital is the same as the lowercase, and it is, isn't it? But it takes up the whole line. So that's your halfway point on a line, a V, and it comes down slightly diagonally, so it goes down and then up. So have a practice of doing the whole line, and then the lowercase, down and up. Okay, so they're exactly the same, aren't they? Except for smaller. Happy Friday, Lucy. Okay, and then if you want to join up, I find these quite difficult. It's much easier when you're writing, but practicing the join. So you go from the line up and then come down, and you have to you do have to go in a diagonal. And then it starts looking like a half a W, doesn't it? But if you're doing, so if I was writing have, it's much easier then to join. Now you would join at the top of a V as well. Okay, you can though, you can do a bit of joined up and print. So you could choose to do it like that if you find that confusing. It's up to you. Have a practice, find your own style. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look at doing some others. Okay, so what words? Oh, let's do the sign quickly. So that's capital, print, and joined, and then the sign. This is your notepad, and these are your fingers, and you just do that. Okay, so you do a V, that's a V, and that's the British Sign Language. It look like an N, does it? Yeah, it does look like an N, doesn't it? Yeah, you're right. So it looks like that. So that's just with a join. Okay, so if it looks confusing to you, then just do a print.
Call from 07575 384550.
Oh, excuse me a minute, my Google's gone off. Google! I don't know how I can switch that off. It's my children's. Hold on a minute, I'm going to unplug it, sorry. Honestly, apologies about that. My children have got a Google Home thing and it's just gone off. I think someone's calling them. Oh, it's Hey Google, is it? Thank you, Ronan. Because I have Alexa, so I don't know these Google things. Oh, well, I've unplugged it now, so apologies. Right, yeah, voxel. Now, these are good. So these are V words, and they're brand names, aren't they? Interesting. There's 2 that have got a V. Okay, we've got Vauxhall and Volkswagen. Okay. Vortex, very good. Vortex. You think of any others? I'd put violin. And what else had I got? Vice. I don't know if you remember Miami Vice. to really make that a point, haven't you, for the V? Vice, or you can have a vice grip. Those of you that are working. Hello, Chloe Tatton. How are you? Voice. That's a good one. So we've got voice. And victory, quite like. Viola, yes. We've got a violin and a viola. And that's also reminded me of violet, which can be a flower or a colour or a name, can't it? Vic. That's a joke, is it? Oh, yeah, Florrie. Is it a velociraptor? Very good. Violence is another one. Yeah. And can you think of a sentence that you've done for those before? We're going to look at V in words in a minute. But I'd written victory for Victor the violin was my sentence. You think of any sentences for you? I don't get your joke, Stephen. Vicky, yeah, Vicky's another name, isn't it? So you can have Violet, Viola, or Vicky as names, or other things. But this actually isn't anything other. Whereas Violet and Viola can be other things, can't they? Vicky is just a name. So you'd have to put a capital on that one. Okay, now have a think. A V is a very interesting. Can you think of any words that actually end in a V? Very, very few, because most words with a V in them end with like a vowel or a vowel sound. So you can have, so you've got have, okay? And notice it ends in an E. And you've got love, okay? And again, notice that it ends in an E. Brave. So most words end, crave, with a VE that have got a V in them. Not all, but a lot. Okay, and I was trying to think of words that end in a V, and one of them was revs, as in, so you can have, this can be a shortened version of reverend, but it's also a shortened version of revolutions. So if you rev your car, that's a word for revving your car, but it's short for revolution. So that was one word that I thought of that ended in a V. Yeah, and then this crave, Stephen, and then the craves. I know it's one of my children's favourite cereals, crave. But it also reminds me of knave. Wolves. Oh, wolves is a good one. Yeah. Now, wolves is very interesting, actually, because you've got the plural, i.e. more than one wolf, is wolves. Yeah. But the singular for wolf, for one wolf, is with an F. So that's quite an interesting one. There's a few like that. There's half and halves is another one. So if we had, let's cross out love a second. Oh no, let's cross out have because it's down. So again, you've got and then half. Okay, they're always quite hard to remember. So there are a few words like rev that end in a V. Then you've got the plural of VES, and then you've got these VE. So there are a few others that we will think of. I put my head on the speaker. My head is vibrate on the speaker. Vibrate is one. So that's a V, isn't it? Starts with a V. Oh, good, Ronan. Now, let's have a quick look though. Do you remember when we talk about our root words? Okay, so we have our little tree, don't we? And we've got our root word down here. That means the main part of the word. And then we have what's called our suffix at the end, and our prefix, pre. You'll know the word pre from prequels, you know, so the like Star Wars where you have a prequel. So it means before. You can even say premature. So a baby's premature because it's got the this pre bit, which means before. Okay, so you've got the before bit of the word, and then the after bit called a suffix, and then the root. So if we go back to have and love, there are root words. What happens if we want to add an ing? If we want to add an ing for having, we take off the e of the root word and we add ing. So most words, not all, but most words that end in an e, you take off to add your suffix ing. Okay, so that's just something worth. So live or live is another one, Chloe. So if we've got, and we can say that in two ways, can't we? Live or live. So I'm live at the moment, aren't I? Streaming. I'm live streaming. And you can't have living, but if you live in a house, you can be living in a house. And then you will cross out, take off the e and add the ing. Now another suffix, so you've got ing. Another suffix is ed. Okay, so if it's lived, you'd cross out the ing and then you'd add the ed. But then you'll see that the whole root word has got the e in it. Okay, so if it uses ed, you use that e out of your root word, or you add it on to something that doesn't end in an e. Gets quite tricky, doesn't it? Okay. Viral is a good one, isn't it? So you've got the word viral, and then you've got the word virus. Okay, so this is the noun, so that's the thing, the virus, and if it's going viral, that's an ing word. So that's a doing word, so it's a verb. Okay. Good. Okay, there's good stuff there. So that's our V. Any other things I've thought about above that ends in a V? Okay, again, there's another one. And then I was wondering about any double Vs. And do you know, the only one I could think of, you might think of some, was, I don't know if you know the actress that plays, what's her name? Is it Catherine Tate? When she goes, am I bothered? I'm not bothered. And how they would spell that, so it's an abbreviation of bothered. And she said she uses a double V there. Am I bothered? Because usually we would spell bother. I'm going to put that in speech marks. We would spell bother like that, bothered. And do you remember we talked about that confusion between a V, a V, and what was the other one? Oh, and an F. So there's confusion between those three sounds, and f. But that's a funny way of saying, am I bothered? Okay, so Stephen's given us a sentence. I lived in a vortex. Very good. Okay, you can bring up some more sentences if you want to, and I can put them up. But yeah, so we've got bothered. I don't know if there's any other double V's I can think of that are words that aren't sort of abbreviations. There is hovered, which spells, but it's only one V. So if you have hover or you have hovered, so you've got the V there again. And that also, that's your root word, hover, and then you add your suffix, ed, on the end of it. Okay, right. Okay, we've got our 5 words to learn today. I'm on time today, Ronan. You'll be pleased to know. You've got to go, Chloe. Okay. You can still do your quiz on these tomorrow. All right. It's just quickly. It's through, should, though, rough, and laugh. Okay, which I'm going to write now. So number 1 of our 5 difficult or tricky high frequency words. We've really come to the end of these now, so we're going to practice them all still. Okay, we've got 5, just 5 work. Okay, and we've only got, after today, 3 letters left. We've got X, Z, and S. We're doing S tomorrow, and then we're done. Amazing, eh? Okay, so number 1 is through. So it's and then O-U-G-H. That's the bit that you're going to have a look at, through. Okay, and then we've got, these are all words that we've already done and you should know now, because we've sort of finished our red words. But what I've done, I've put all these together and you'll see why in a minute. So then we've got should. Got that O-U again. But can you hear they're very different, aren't they? And this ends in a GH and this ends in an LD, but they've both got that OU. But one says through and one says should. And then, even trickier, we've got though. Okay, so it's, now look at this. This is the same as that, except for the R, but this one is through and this one is though. So they sound completely different. Oh, here we go. We got some sentences. My friend called Violet drives a Vauxhall with her friend Vicky, and she likes to play the violin. Love it. And Ronan, my hand got stuck in a vacuum cleaner. Very good. Okay, so though, and then we've got rough, and again, very the O-U-G-H spelling, but a different sound. So look, through, though, rough. Okay, all with O-U-G-H. And one is an oo sound, one is a o sound, and this is an uff sound. So that's why it's really difficult. And then this one, laugh. Okay, that's similar to rough, isn't it? So this GH becomes a f sound, rough, laugh. But that's an AU instead of an OU. So that's why they're so difficult. So I really want you to try and remember those, and I'll test you on those tomorrow. Think about that OUJH and think about how it's spelt and how it sounds. Okay, so you've got, and then the OULD for should. And remember yesterday we did would and could, didn't we? So we've got should, would, could. So have a real go at memorising those and remembering them, and I shall test you tomorrow. Lucy, that's okay for saying your sentence is good. Oh, here we go. Florrie. The vivid voice from Violet, the best wolf leader from the wolves. Oh, very good. Vibrated loudly. So you've got the single wolf and the plural wolves there. So more than one wolves. Very good. Excellent. Good stuff, everybody. So we only do 5, Stephen, now. And then, yes, but you're right. Tomorrow I will test you on those 5 plus 5 more. Okay. And that's it. So remember the V. Remember V, the sound. The letter V, the sound V. Remember the capital is bigger. Okay. Stephen's asked me if I'll do maths with Jules. That's not my thing. Okay. I was thinking about doing some grammar later, but we'll carry on with our spelling for now, and see you tomorrow. Yeah, remember V for victory. We will get through this. Through, should, though, rough, laugh, and do start to remember your root words with your prefix. We haven't really done any prefix work yet. We will do, and your suffix of ing and ed. Lots to learn, lots to remember. See you next week.